Undead and brain dead. What, am I trying to date somebody in the valley here?
Oh.
No, that's a self-burn. Sorry, guys.
Hey, everybody. I'm Amy Newman.
And I am Chris Carr, and we are two filthy casuals.
And we know that getting into a new fandom can be intimidating with all the gatekeeping out there and everyone being incredibly chill and normal about everything.
And people not being able to differentiate actors from, like, real life and clickers and all that stuff. And that's why on this podcast, we invite a super fan to come on so they can talk about their fandom, and you can dip your toe in sans judgment and be cool.
And be cool.
That's the big thing.
You're just too scared.
Yeah. Don't be a baby.
You're like, this isn't, my problem's not that it's woke. My problem is that this will woke me up at night. And I'll be scared.
Stupid. I love it. Can I be really real before we start this episode?
Please.
I have played.
Eric's just sitting over there patiently. Shut up.
We'll talk to you when we're ready. So I have played this video game.
Hey, what did we say? Don't speak unless you're spoken to.
Oh, no.
Got it.
Oh, no.
I love you.
I love you.
Haven't you? I've played this video game, and I can't play it at night because it scares me too much.
Oh,
I'm Child Amy on this one, where I'm like, the night? Absolutely not. I will not participate.
Did I ever tell you my video game trauma story? We'll introduce Eric real fast. And then I'll get into this.
Eric's here.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast. Ooh, I forgot to ask how you want to be introduced.
He's an actor,
improviser.
Hubby.
My husband. You can catch him on Legacy of Fools, playing Dungeons and Dragons. All around talent and mega babe.
Probably the nicest person who exists, if we're being honest.
Terrible standards in women, but great guy. Eric Dains.
Yay!
For the record, I do not have bad taste in women. Thank you very much.
Agreed.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back on. It feels good to be back.
Yeah!
For the fourth Spider-Man movie that Sam Raimi made.
We literally got a question too. Was like, what about Sam Raimi's version of this?
I can't get away. It's just my niche.
That's why we
Sam
gotta pull you
Raimi's
in.
super fan.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So excited to have you here for the longest conversation we'll have in months.
Whoa.
Oh, we just do this so we talk.
Oh, well, I love that for you guys.
Because otherwise we just brush our teeth next to each other in stony silence.
You're a busy gal.
And again, the rule is don't speak unless spoken to.
Yeah, it's a quiet household.
Rarely do.
And if I'm brushing my teeth, tell me everything about your day. Magical. We're going to talk about The Last of Us, though.
Yeah.
Which are, okay, going into this, obviously, Eric, you are a fan of this. You have played the games and you are familiar with the series. But Amy, I did not know if you had any interest in this series, if you'd played or watched the games, if you'd been watching the show. Where are you at on this?
I don't know much.
Okay.
Period, full stop.
But I know I love you.
But, nor do I know much about The Last of Us.
All right.
What was your prior video game trauma?
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
When I was a child, I may have told this story, I played a Nancy Drew video game. And I was trying to solve a mystery. I was
Like you do.
hot on the trail.
Mhm.
I walked into a room. I believe it was, okay, someone fact check me if this existed. I want to say it was like a mystery on a movie set. And I walked into someone's office or trailer or something, and a bomb blew me up and killed me.
In a Nancy Drew game.
Nancy Drew, dead everywhere.
But to date myself, this was in the era when you had a computer room in your house, and our computer room, we had a weird layout in my old house, the house I grew up in, that had like essentially like in-laws quarters, so a big long like back living space, and then a little like office bedroom whatever behind that we used as a computer room. All that to say, it was a long walk from that back room up to kind of the main portion of the house where the rest of my family was. So in my little kid brain, I was like, I'm too scared to walk through this room alone at night now because this freaked me out so bad.
Because
and
you got blowed up.
And I think I sat back there by myself for like an hour and a half until finally, like, my mom was like, are you going to bed soon? I was like, I blew up.
I feel like Timmy just would have just been like, okay, you want a snack or...
So now that everybody who's clicked on this to hear about The Last of Us has given us a thumbs down and moved on, Eric.
Too political once again.
Nancy Drew, that sounds like a woman.
The old...
Woke mob strikes again. She went woke and she went broke. By which I mean she blew up.
Yeah.
In the producer's trailer, maybe? My knowledge of Last of Us, to answer your previous question, is not much. I kind of saw you playing the games, and I sort of heard from you how invested in the games you were, but I never played them myself. I checked out the first season of the show when everyone was talking about it, and just did what I often do, which is, that's super good. And then I got sidetracked by the 8 million other things available at my fingertips. And probably watched something significantly worse and forgot to go back to that. So I am coming in not knowing a ton about this. I don't have crazy strong opinions.
Oh, sweet. Okay, well, Eric, can you tell us what The Last of Us is?
Yeah. So The Last of Us originated as a video game, as a duology with some downloadable content in between the games. But then it spiraled out into some mega fame and success where it has now landed as an HBO episodic. And so what became a video game at first has now turned into a 2-season long with a 3rd season announced series on HBO. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, did you play both games?
I did. So funny enough, I actually got into this accidentally because when I moved out for the first time, it was 2016. Was out on my own. I had my first taxable paycheck, and I remember I dropped a bundle on a PlayStation 4 with The Last of Us already downloaded on it and a flat screen TV to put in my apartment.
Hell yeah.
And I had no idea what to expect. I loved Naughty Dog, Jack and Daxter, and that whole franchise is one of my favorite series of all times. But I was expecting, a lot more Uncharted in the way that Naughty Dog and Sony, they do extremely mega cinematic games that almost feel like you're half participating in a cinematic experience more than you're actually doing a lot of gameplay. They definitely blur into each other, but by the time I got this, it was already 3 years old with all of its acclaim, a remaster, and I don't believe the sequel was announced at that point yet. But it was downloaded or came as a bundle on my PlayStation, so I put it on, and I was enthralled. This is one of the few games I've actually 100% completed, which means
Both of them?
No, the second one I actually borrowed from a friend, and so I had to get through that one just out of respect. But
whoop whoop, fake fan. Whoop whoop.
They're long. I assume they're long games. Finish.
They are long.
It's
the levels
so
are
long.
thoroughly designed. The sets are massive.
Yeah.
It was a love of the exploration and the world and the writing that really attested to how much time I sank into those games. Yeah.
So, okay, so then we have the TV series that came out.
Mm-hmm.
How, you're saying these are very cinematic games. How close is that adaptation? Did they take a lot of liberties? Did they, how similar is that experience for you as a player?
It is extremely faithful.
Yeah.
I mean, this is down to about 95% a 1-to-1. Some stuff they took out, if you're changing mediums, there's stuff that makes more sense in a gameplay situation than a cinematic one. A cinematic is an experience visually that you're not really participating in, but with a video game, you're inputting functions. So there is a piece of you that is involved with the making of this, visual experience. Yeah. So there's some things that they had to cut out just that made sense. There's just no spores in this one. Sorry. Also, we're going to get into some spoilers in this in
maybe
this podcast.
If we can would it be fair to say if it's like first game, first season approximately, we'll cover that now, and then maybe we can dig into second season spoilers as
I was going to say, game 2, season 2, I feel we'll do a caveat, we'll do a spoiler banjo.
Which I actually think is a more sizable way to bite-size these, because with the show coming out, I believe they're so in conversation with the game. There are little tweaks here that in an episodic weekly format, there are some things that are just so much more evocative than you're going to put in at least 60 hours into this event and you can take it to 8, 20 hours at a time, whatever your fancy is. So yeah, focusing on the first game, faithful, completely 100, 1-to-1.
Is the first season the first game and the second season the second game pretty
much, mostly? Yeah. We'll cover some of the nuances there because the second season and game do a lot of fun infrastructure with the way they kind of like go back and forth. But season 1 is game 1. Try it like from start to finish. You get everything from the introduction of Joel and what he's about to our time jump and kind of the world we're in to him and Ellie and the journey they make. So yeah, it's faithful as hell. It's crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The very few changes, you already brought up spores, which is one of the changes. And then instead we kind of go into this hive mind in season 2, which I think works really well. And we can dive into that more.
You watch this?
Oh, yeah.
You're a little scared.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm not.
Scared girl.
I am a very little scared girl. Very scared little girl?
No.
Where do the words go?
You're very little scared
I'm a very little scared girl.
I am very little scared girl.
I'm very little scared girl. And Amy, I did not do well with this. Season 2 is also like so hyper violent, and it was a lot of me watching from behind my fingies.
That's crazy. I didn't ask because I just assumed.
I already knew some of the things because of playing the game with Logan. And I will say I have not completed the second game because too spooky, too violent. Fair. And I also have to wait for the daytime because I don't like playing this at night, which is problematic when, you've got work and stuff of, now the sun is setting and I have to go away from this game because it's too creepy.
Sure.
Yeah.
But one of the beautiful things, in my opinion, is in season 1, they did do a big change with Nick Offerman's character that he played. And that is one of the things that I feel is kind of our almost gateway drug into getting this to being caliber television, and also a really great kind of moment of, hey, you can take really great IP and adapt it and make it better or really expand upon it without detracting from the original source material or viewing the original source material as less than. And so for you as a gamer and viewer, how did you feel about those kinds of changes as you were watching it?
Yeah, for the most part, it makes sense and it creates a more not quite visceral, because when you're playing the video game, it's your reaction and you
share agency.
You feel responsible when things don't go well.
Which I've got so many questions about this. I'm so excited about it.
The stakes feel higher because things feel more organic, but in the transference to an episodic, I feel like the themes are able to echo a little bit stronger, because there is I guess we should kind of paint the picture of the video game, like what you're doing. Yeah, so you're kind of going through these levels, trying to get from point A to point B. There's some light platforming, and typically you're going to run into some dangerous infected zombies or some raiders, some post-apocalyptic nasty guys, and you're going to have to dispose of them with hand-to-hand combat, handgun to long gun combat, improvised weapons, and craftable items. So there is a puzzle component to how to maneuver these dangerous areas between stealth and brute force, because your ammo is very limited, so you can't just go in totally guns blazing. And I think this is my main point I took away, is that in the video game, it's making the same themes as the show is, but a lot of the themes are about like violence, grief, the cyclical nature of like you doing that just creates more. But it feels hypocritical when you're going through a level icing 10 guys in the most visceral, violent fashion because I put a trip mine over there. I've got a nail bomb strapped over there, and now
I'm having a blast. I'm yelling.
Exactly, because that's part of the power fantasy, right? That you are trying to achieve something.
Yell it again.
Yeah,
you are.
Feel free to make
clip that out. Please.
Make that your text tone.
So with the show,
if your phone still makes noise. Oh my god, I love when I lose my phone and people are like, "Do you want me to call it?" I'm like,
so we can hear the vibration.
My phone hasn't made noise in 10 years.
That's why you got this little guy. So it goes bing bing.
Crazy frog, and then 10 years of silence.
I paid for my humps once, and I loved it.
It didn't transfer to my iPhone, and I went, no.
Didn't. Broke the first one. But I think the show kind of transfers that a little bit more powerfully, because with that story, the stuff that they can airbrush in, they can kind of hyperimpose. It has a more affecting, you get to sit with it. You get to kind of mull over those themes a bit more than just passing through a level. It really does make it feel a little bit more, probably not immersive, but there's more gravity to this world.
Sure, that makes sense. For me, watching it too was when I'm playing the game. It is I have that agency, I have that shared experience, and so me, cooking some fools or doing what I need to do makes sense in that moment. But when you're watching the show, especially when you have something called The Last of Us, you do, I think, need that kind of emotional tether of why would you even want to be one of the Last of Us? Why would you want to exist in this kind of world?
Yeah, and I think that's a bit of a theme that they touch on, maybe not overtly, but that optimism in that we will go on. Community is such a strong theme, and not all of them are good.
Yeah.
To be quite frank, a lot of these factions are radicalized in this world, and I think there's a very good commentary on you get picked up by people who simply fill in your needs when you're vulnerable. If you need a piece of society or culture to fit into, it's very easy to fit into a radicalized faction if you simply feel supported and heard.
Yeah. Like so many other podcasts. Call your dad, you're in a cult. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of broad strokes, what is the plot of The Last of Us?
Right. That is a great one.
We've never gotten into it pre-minute 15.
So this is predominantly a zombie game and a zombie franchise, which means we got zombies, we got the undead, we've got people that aren't people anymore, because that term has broadened so much in the scope of the genre, right? This specifically comes from a fungus called cordyceps, which is not a fictional fungus. This is actually a living fungus in our own actual world. Fear not, it has not been observed to be doing the things it's doing, but it opens up with a talk on, the world is changing, the climate is changing, and a lot of that is on us. What if it changes to eradicate us, essentially? So this fungal... Fun! Are we having fun yet?
I love it that it's too real. I love it that it's like, oh no, this is actually like, yeah, we've seen these little zombie ants get controlled by mushroom spores.
Yeah, parasitic.
Yeah.
I actually did just check
Relationships.
AP News, and they cut the department that keeps an eye on the cordyceps.
Oh,
Oh.
that makes sense in this timeline.
Ain't stoked.
Yeah, well,
Not true, but
I'd believe it.
that's the thing. I have to clarify that's not true.
Yeah.
Be careful of your jokes.
Oh.
So this fungal infection breaks out in, I think it's about 2003. So this is kind of where our timeline splits, and we have a alternate timeline. The fungus spreads and starts infecting people, and by intensity or by time, it kind of changes them either into a fungal being itself or these infected very fast, kind of like those 28 Day Later zombies that are filled with rage, not your family anymore, hungry to bite you and change you to be part of the horde or the hive, which I think is fascinating. There's some things on here that I think a big part of media literacy is definitely not taking things at face value, but at the same time, nothing is a mistake. Every decision on film and video games was made with a very, very specific reason. And I think fungal, I think the hive, that mentality of everythingness and sweepingness, especially as a natural force against man, kind of in this push and pull. Again, I don't think this is one of their main themes, but I think it's very interesting that they're actually playing a little bit more with it in season 2, which is very exciting, of like this hive mind. It's very creepy. It's great. So you play Joel. Joel, during this outbreak, loses his daughter. A very, sad, unfortunate decision that was made by a soldier. And then we time jump 20 years later. Joel is holed up in Boston, where Fedra, one of the governing bodies that's kind of like the most government working one, has taken over into a quarantine zone. Joel's a smuggler. That's how he kind of makes his way through life and everything, and he gets asked to smuggle some live cargo. Come to find out that this is because this little girl he is transporting to this area is the only person reported to be immune to these cordyceps bites and infection. So immediately we have a very fun MacGuffin of, holy shit, do we have the holy grail in saving humanity? Because humanity is wiped out, brink of extinction. Nature has taken back over. Cities are overgrown. There's pockets of humanity, but it is decimated. So they're going to Boston, and essentially the whole game takes place over their journey getting to Salt Lake City.
It's just Oregon Trail.
It's just
It
Oregon
is.
Trail.
And you could die of dysentery.
And you could die of dysentery.
or
yeah.
clickers.
Yeah, so a lot of the game revolves not only around that journey in the landscape, but that journey with that relationship of Joel, who's lost his daughter, and kind of this young girl who becomes his surrogate daughter, but they both come from different worlds. He comes from the pre-infection world, and she's known nothing but it, so both their perspectives kind of inform what the other one is missing, and it's a beautiful, well-written relationship story that isn't romantic, and kind of Naughty Dog's second franchise slam dunk after Uncharted, because that was kind of a very story-inspired, set-piece, cinematic-inspired type of video game, which I actually think we could draw, inspiring from Red Dead Redemption being like a sweeping Wild Wild West tale. Because up until that point, game story was important, but it was so just kind of the last, it was the decoration. It was more about like the gameplay. What's fun about this game, So this was all about that relationship blossoming, but also traveling through this world and really living immersively through it. You're picking up notes, you're picking up tapes, you're kind of figuring out that Fedra, while the largest and most dominating force, wasn't the most moral, and that some of these radical groups are way more radical than others. You run into very much like side characters that are forging on their own in their own post-apocalyptic, humanitarian way. So it's sweeping.
I've got 2 fun facts for you.
Oh.
The first fun fact is friend of the show, Raul Ceballos.
Uh-huh.
He is the voice of the bloaters in Last
Get
of Us
out
2.
of town. Those fuckers
Heck
are creepy.
Yeah. So
Oh my
crazy because he can
God.
make his ventricle folds like really like manipulate in a crazy way.
That's
so you can
insane.
Awesome.
see him doing that.
Yeah.
But also, video games at this point in time are the highest grossing entertainment franchise out there. It surpasses sports, it surpasses TV, it surpasses movies. Video games make more money than anything else.
Are we counting?
Oh, actually, I think it might be higher than porn. I'm
Who's
not
paying for
sure
their
at this
porn?
point. That's also true.
Support artists.
Support sex workers.
Yeah, you should
Yep.
support sex workers. Good job, everybody.
That's
But-
crazy.
Isn't that wild? And
Yeah.
that's why I think so much of this IP is constantly being mined now.
Mhm.
Of
We could
there's
combine the two.
they have a whole 30 Rock episode about
Yeah,
this.
they do.
It's an amazing episode. But I think it's so interesting that now we're in this kind of renaissance of storytelling with these cinematic cutscenes and everything, particularly from Naughty Dog, like you've brought up here, of how do we kind of translate that into mainstream media?
Yeah. I wonder if it has something to do with the combination of people still want good storytelling, but our attention spans kind of suck.
Ooh, that's a
Of,
great
like,
point.
Yeah.
I'm not just sitting and watching, which I know a lot of people more and more have issues with, just because it is like I'm so used to being able to scroll through and kind of follow my
yeah.
own, like, I want to see something new, I want to see something different, I want to follow this thread. Combining that with, like, there is still a human desire for good storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just have no attention span to sit quietly and watch things.
Yeah, and I think there's such an inclination to fall into episodic television, because I don't know many people that talk about the type of fan they are about a movie, singular. Like maybe Marvel fans, but
Yeah.
that feels episodic on its own, because there is so much to kind of keep you around and like engaged with. You brought up the bloaters. I guess that's a good thing that we should go over, is that, the danger you're navigating are these fungal infected beings that come in different shapes and sizes and types. And the bloaters are fucking freaky. Incredibly scary, great effect in the show and the game of just feeling dread. But they're big. The cordyceps has taken over a long time, so it's almost created like a hard-shelled armor over them. They actually used a lot of practical effects for the show on this, and the cordyceps suit just looks so good at towering over people. You got clickers, which I think are some of the most iconic game-designed creatures of the last decade. They find you via echolocation, so if you make too much noise, they will zero in on you. And those clicks, man, you're in a dark hallway not seeing anything, but you just hear that and you know it's around. And even though you have this gameplay ability to be able to listen really closely, when you see that thing shambling around a corner, incredibly effective.
It's well, and there for anyone else who understands like zombie games or things like that. I always hate when zombies move quickly. I find it so unnatural. I feel like they're cockroaches then, which is probably more accurate, right? Something that could survive probably shambles in that kind of way. And the clickers absolutely have that weird cockroachian movement of scattering and scurrying.
Just like all my favorite zombie franchises, they did a really good job of getting actors who are primarily based in movement, dancers, people who are double jointed, that can shamble and shake in these just very unnatural and settling ways. It just creates a really good sense of dread.
It's so icky.
You said there are many. Are there any that are cute? That are friends?
Is there any that Amy would kiss?
Not cute. Not cute.
You know, like right after they turn.
Like a friend.
Like a friend. Right after they turn.
Like a Nicholas Hoult in Warm Bodies?
Oh. Maybe there's an...
Oh my gosh, you would love it. We're going to watch it. Okay.
It's a good one.
Hooray.
I'm going to just
We'll
dog
find you
ear
a
that.
nice one. We'll find you a nice cordyceps infected. If you find someone who was just bit and turned, I mean, they'd still be handsome. They wouldn't be falling apart
I'm not trying to smooch one. Why does everyone think I'm trying to smooch one?
Amy.
Zombies are bottom of the tier list of monsters for monster fucking.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
That's
that's just
fair.
science.
That is.
That's just science.
Nah, Stephanie really got that one right, didn't she?
It is vampires.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even my personal
No, they're sexier.
preference, but
It just is.
it just is.
Undead and brain dead. What, am I trying to date somebody in the valley here?
Oh.
No, that's a self-burn. Sorry, guys.
Zombies are bottom. Right in the middle?
I'm sorry, zombies are bottoms?
Thank you. I was about to do it.
Well, and the speed these ones are power bottoms. They got the speed.
There we go.
Middle of the tier list, right smack at the middle, a Frankenstein.
Tall.
Oh,
Because, like, no, but maybe.
You could throw me around.
And then above Frankensteins, but below zombies, any kind of like.
Wait, how does that work out? Above Frankenstein, but below zombies?
Or below, I'm sorry.
Below Frankenstein, but above zombies?
Above. I'll do a visual
Okay.
for the YouTube.
Perfect.
I won't. I'm too lazy.
I promise too much.
Okay. Zombies.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wolfman.
Oh, interesting.
Like werewolf Wolfman. Frankensteins.
Wolfman under Frankenstein.
Frankenstein at least got married.
Okay, sure. I don't want to ruin someone's
Why are
marriage,
all
though.
the good ones gay or Frankenstein?
Shape of Water creature from the Black Lagoon guy.
Okay.
Any sort of fish man.
A fish man.
Vampires.
I would shift the werewolf up above the Frankenstein and the Lagoon Boy.
I'd switch Lagoon Boy and Werewolf, but that's just me.
Uh,
No, Damn, you got me thinking now.
And that's what this podcast is
Are
all
we going
about.
like personal preference or like
Cryptids. Any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going for like objectivity, or is that like personal preference?
I mean, I suppose it is personal, but
that scale,
again, it's
scale
like
feels very.
it's like I'm not a vampire girly necessarily,
No, the scale you gave was just, it feels very, very tight and good. I don't want to mess with it.
Yeah.
but vampires are top.
Vampires are tops.
Absolutely.
That's
Zombies
that
are
is
bottoms.
that is
That is,
objective.
again, just science.
Yeah.
That's how it works. No vampires in this game, though.
No,
Sorry.
no. Only creepy zombie mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you get.
Mm.
Are there any other characters of note that we need to know about from the video game or from the series?
Yeah. Okay. So Joel and Ellie are front and center. That's kind of our primary everything. But I think it's good to know Marlene, who is kind of Ellie's caregiver and gives her over to Joel to make sure that they, they're all good and good to go. She'll pop up later. She
Same
is
actress in both things, too.
one of those fun crossover. Yeah. Actually, Troy Baker, the voice of Joel, gets a cameo
Yes,
in
he
the first
does.
season.
As does the voice of Ellie.
Yeah. So it's like, it's fun pointing them out and just being like, and they do great. They do incredible work.
Yeah.
Marlena is part of the faction known as the Fireflies. They're known as a bit of a radical, militant, fighting against the oppression that Fedra brings in, but in their own way, just causing as much chaos and violence. But kind of what's led to be our morally ambiguous but generally good company. So she's a part of that. I think that's really all, because then like we meet some people, but we don't really keep anybody. We'll meet some people later.
And it gets into spoiler territory, which we can get into.
Which we'll get into. Yeah.
Go on.
You said sure, like we were like, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still on the tier list.
Fuck. I mean, which
A
cryptid
werewolf?
Would be top of that.
What do you count a Bigfoot as?
That's a cryptid.
Cryptid.
So the cryptid is just going to be its own category? And do they have subsects?
Because I feel like this is subjective, but Bigfoot and Mothman are the same level of fuckable.
Yeah, like you wouldn't put Chupacabra up there.
You'd put a Chupacabra up with
No, I wouldn't.
No,
That's what I'm
okay.
saying. They're in different leagues.
Who's more fuckable, Bigfoot or Mothman?
I assume Bigfoot or humanoid. Oh, maybe that's just me being like a humanist. I don't know. Am I a problem? Oh shit.
With Mothman, you can get airborne.
But I don't want to be.
But I belong on the ground.
Listen, Eric, I was raised Catholic. At most, I'm doing missionary, and if I'm doing this with a cryptid, I want the lights off. All right, I'm not trying to get airborne.
Bigfoot is like big into missionary. You just say it because you did it. It's not like the best lay.
Yeah,
But it is something that you can always bring at like a party.
Hit that.
Currently hitting that.
But we shambled like this.
Bigfoot cries after. So, Last of Us, huh?
Well, if we're talking about characters, I mean, predominantly we're through them until we get to the end of it. So I think we can jump ahead to the end of the first season.
Okay.
They get to the hospital against all odds after a lot of danger and whatnot. A lot of fun adventure happens, and Ellie almost drowns. She's incapacitated. They get her to the hospital they're trying to get to that's run by the Fireflies, who think they can develop a cure. But then it's revealed that it's really, and this is funny because they've kind of flip-flopped a little bit on this between TV and video games. In video games, it seems very, very unlikely that there's a cure that they can make with her. It's simply the man behind it is a veterinarian. The science actually holds a little bit, I think, of like him trying to solve a fungal infection is being brought about it all wrong, as in the way like you would do a vaccine, whereas you need something to exterminate it, not just it's like cool stuff like that, where it very much feels like the choice that you make is to terminate the entire hospital to save Ellie, because if they do this procedure, it's going to kill her. And after this long, intimate, growing relationship that's budding between them, it's something that Joel can't face. So he eliminates dozens of people in this hospital to get to her, saves her, and as she's coming to, he tells her, the doctor said they actually have other immune people and your blood wouldn't work, so we're leaving. And the game ends at that.
This is my question for you.
End of season 1. Mm-hmm.
When you're playing that,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like as the player, at least for myself, I can only speak for myself, I felt justified in taking care of my baby girl.
Yeah, that's when it was like every bullet I saved was for this.
Exactly.
No mercy. I think like I blacked out for 5 seconds, and when I came to, it was carnage.
Yeah, you go into a fugue state protecting Ellie.
And it's great. It's fun. It's big. It's a third act, huge battle, guns blazing. And yeah, you feel, I felt very justified, and I felt very much like the good guy.
Did you feel Joel was justified when you watched it as opposed to playing it, since you didn't share agency anymore?
No, I think you get a little bit more nuance with that. I think the themes poke out a little bit more, because they weren't reinforced to me until the second one of, one of the worst things he did was making the decision that took away somebody else's autonomy. Because it's not even hinted at. She says it blatantly that if it was her time to die for this, she would gladly do it. And that's where it's gets a little entangled, right? Because it's like, well, he saved a life. That's good. But did he doom humanity? Because now the television series has flopped a little bit as well. And they're kind of doubling down on, well, a cure could have been made.
Like flip-flop. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, people are still watching.
No, yeah, exactly. Which I think is brilliant because I think that creates even more of an impact with that decision. And I think it's so character affirming that we get to a point where Joel essentially says, I would do it. No hesitation again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's more impactful. I think the themes get reworked more impactfully in the second game and in kind of cool ways where, at the end of the first game, like you're not supposed to feel anything except like validated for what you did, I think. Because it felt good. It felt good to be like, I'm going to save this this person who, not this game, this person who I invested 60 hours into, I'm very close to, and I'm going to Papa Bear it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it's like the trolley problem if the person on one side's going, is what it is. And you're like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
I am going to hit that spoiler banjo for Season 2, Game 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Have you heard a banjo, my love?
I was doing electric banjo.
He was doing like Gar does banjo. Just
I feel like you were doing the devil's solo from The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
I'm not mad about it.
He got a bum deal, but he should have played something better.
I kind of like his solo better. I'll die on that hill.
I like his solo better. I think he could have done something a little bit more musically. That is neither here nor
Know
there.
your audience.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So when we get into Game 2, Season 2, there is a shift.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I mean, at least in the show, right? By episode 2, we no longer have Joel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that shift like in the game? What is that shift like in the show? Can you talk to us
We
about
did
that?
get a question from the Meerkat just asking, is losing Pedro Pascal more difficult for you to continue watching?
Ooh, yeah.
That's an easy one for me because having finished it, they do a lot of good flashback narrative and inserting some flashbacks. So he's around. It's
Pedro's still getting the paycheck, people. Don't worry.
Oh, paycheck
He's on
Pascal.
the poster.
he's fine.
Yeah.
No, he's not very missed in a. It's difficult, right? Because it's such a ballsy move in general. Because he is your main character, but generally, no. The watchability is still there. You're getting all these flashback scenes that are informing just so much emotional weight into. I think in an impactful way because he is gone.
Do you think, though, because I have followed a little bit of the fan backlash against the second season, do you think that, I mean, obviously there's some of it that's just I'm not dignifying that with a response, but some of it is, I'm sure, in a game, if you're losing the character you're playing as, it doesn't feel like that big a deal because you are that character. You're not watching that character. I imagine losing the actor who is the reason a lot of people tuned into this show in the first place is a harder shift to adapt to, especially if you are a huge fan.
Yeah, I think Pascal does a really, really fucking good job portraying Joel. I think Joel's interesting just in the way that he's quiet but brash. He's prepared but impulsive. There's so many things that pull him from different places in very interesting ways. And I think people grew attached to that, both him as a father figure and a character himself. So I think there was an attachment to that character. I'd be hard-pressed to say who knows who got whiplashed harder, the video game lover who saw that for the first time and experienced that, with the controller in your hands, or the person who saw that for the first time who, has a bit more of a real-life, even parasocial connection to this person. If you really like all of his properties that he's been doing, I dig his stuff.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming, and it was still a little rough in that way, because it was Dad, no.
Well, what's so interesting, too, is in that first game, you play as Joel's daughter at the start of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You play as her, and then you get killed. And so you have this really weird connection and
then you
pull,
play as Joel.
And then you go to play as Joel, yeah.
And then who do you play as once Joel dies?
In the second game. So in the first one, it switches
toggle.
to, it switches to Ellie once.
I do love to toggle.
Who doesn't love a good toggle?
What do you do
You
for
know.
fun?
Toggle.
Toggle. Boggle.
Oh, you play Boggle?
Yeah. Sometimes
What's your favorite thing about the game Boggle?
how easy it is to make words.
Okay, I think he has actually played it. I thought I trapped him in a lie.
That seems to track.
A lot of games have words in them.
I've never played it, so
It's like the one that you shake up and you just make words out of, I think.
feels right.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
what it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't think
today.
Scrabble used to exist. I thought it was called Scramble, and I thought that's what Boggle was called. So my world expanded a lot that year. 2-word games.
2024 was a big one for you.
So, in the first game, you do toggle to Ellie at some point when
Okay.
you're taking care of Joel in like a very high-stakes life or death situation, which is fantastic.
It's a crazy game mechanic of
really
shifting
is.
between the two of them.
And they play different, they move different.
Yeah.
It's brilliant in detail. And then, in the third one, you play primarily as Ellie, but then you actually switch to Joel's killer, Abby. So you play as Joel's killer, and this is, I think, where a lot of the backlash and sparks and flames started from. Because of everybody's affinity to Joel, playing as this woman who just slayed the main character, and then you're forced to be in her skin, was a very obtuse feeling. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It's what's so fucking brilliant.
Is she a
What's so fucking
justified
brilliant. Yes.
antagonist?
Yes, because her father
If
was
you
her father was the lead scientist who was killed at the Salt Lake City hospital.
Oh.
And she came to found that Joel was the killer, and that was her community. She knew those nurses, that was her father. So she goes on a hunt about 2-3 years after, I think, maybe 5 years after that assault, to find Joel and bring him to justice, which sets a fucking domino cyclical event because Ellie is there to witness that, and so she makes it her mission to hunt down Abby and have her vengeance.
Did Abby even consider that he was daddy?
She does say he's handsome. She's like, "Oh wow, you are handsome."
This was actually a question we got, which is from Pizza Professor NY. Why is Joel daddy?
Oh,
Someone doesn't say I'm smoking hot as they kill me. You better not. You better fucking not.
Yeah.
If I don't at least get a what a little snack as the knife goes in.
Yeah.
this is easy. Joel is daddy
Yep.
because he's older and fine looking. He's like in his 50s and looking like that. Hello. In the post-apocalyptic world, he's Papa Bear. We all love a protector.
Mm-hmm.
And he's fucking unavailable. Like, I mean, come on.
He's so emotionally unavailable. Yeah.
He's so
I do-
traumatized.
I do remember when this came out. Well, and is his dead daughter's name Sarah?
Yes.
People were like, God, I love a show with an emotionally unavailable daddy with a dead daughter named Sarah, just shepherding, like, and protecting a little girl with some kind of power. Like, it's him and it's Hopper
Yeah.
from
Stranger
Stranger
Things.
Things.
This is my favorite genre of all, of reluctant adoptive father.
Sure.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's
Who doesn't
so
love a,
sexy.
Who doesn't
Here
like a
for
wolf and
it.
cub story?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it so much.
So yeah, Abby is 100% justified, but
But I don't like it.
But I don't like it. We don't know her. We're gonna get to know her and get to know her story because in the second game, this is the main difference between season 2 and game 2. Game 2 splits in half between Ellie's perspective and Abby's perspective, and kind of their ripple effects of the choices
Interesting.
they've made, and then they bounce back where you ended as Ellie. Season 2 has only gone up to Ellie's perspective, but it ended right at the moment where you switch. So it seems pretty obvious what we're going to do for season 3.
Well, people lost their minds too, because the end moment, we have this kind of standoff, right? Which we do also have a whole bunch of questions about this that we'll get into. But we end with Seattle Day 1. We go back to Abby's perspective of these 3 days.
Mhm.
Which is very much like that gameplay. But I feel like a lot of times narratively, people are just like, wait, what? No, I have to follow a new person? I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Which I think once we get there, I think it's going to be fine. It's going to be great. There's a ton of little clues they gave us, even seeing Abby on day 3 into like what's going to happen. And it seems like they're going to stay faithful. And so far, it's really been working for them. So I'm excited. I loved it. It was same as the games, 9 10s across the board.
Which does make, I don't need to get into the nitty gritty of it because that's not the show we're doing. And I don't think it's whatever. But one thing I thought was crazy talking to you a bit about the show as you were watching it, because I'd heard some of the backlash and so many things came up where I was like, oh, okay. Is that in the game? Yes. Oh, okay. People were mad about this moment. Is that in the... Yes. Like, if you didn't like it, you kind of should have known this just wouldn't have been something... You know what I mean? Like, I thought it was at least there was an art... And look, I'm not saying no one's allowed to dislike this, but to be angry about plot points that are directly from the source material, to me just feels like, okay, then this thing just isn't fucking for you. Go watch something else.
Yeah, I think there's such an entitlement. Like, not everything has to be for you.
I just kept expecting there to be a well, some people are mad about this for dumb reasons, and some people are making the argument of because sometimes there is stuff where it's like, they shoehorned a relationship in here where it's like some people are being stupid and bigoted about this because it's, a queer relationship, or some people are just like, a relationship doesn't need to go here. But all this shit's directly from the game.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. No,
huh? I give that too big. Huh?
Well, and if you want to scratch your head even more,
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Laura Bailey, who originally was Abby, and now Caitlin Dever, is that how we say her last name?
Maybe?
Dever, maybe? I apologize if I'm screwing up her name. She's an incredible actress, obviously.
We'll call her up.
But both actresses have gotten so much heat for playing this role so well. Laura Bailey got death threats. People threatened her child. It was insane. It was absolutely uncalled for. She just played a role so well.
Oh, it was the you're this villain too good.
It was the Jack Eason effect.
Separate you. And then we saw it happen to the actress playing her in the live action to an extent. But at least at that point, HBO and the creators knew, hey, we really need to protect her because of the backlash we had with the game. So, there's people mad about all kinds of things with this game. So, for you as a player, how do you kind of navigate that weird narrative that happens of people being so mad about, you adapted it truthfully, or you did this thing truthfully? How does that all work for you?
First, I'm going to say it overall sucks to hear any kind of negative echo chamber in that capacity, because it compromises the integrity of the experience you're supposed to have as a first-time player. There were so many criticisms in the second game that weren't even crystallized or even came around that I was confused on certain points because I was expecting something but got something else, where I had to go back and reread, okay, wait, am I understanding this right? Okay, so...
you were expecting something to be mad about.
Yeah. And it's just
this is a nothing burger.
Yeah, this just large, loud group of people had a bad opinion, and we're just
welcome.
Welcome
to 2025. Yeah,
because I had a pretty crisp delay on both games, not playing them until I think both of them 3 years at that point when they came out. So there was plenty of
I think it's also hard when those echo chambers happen, because then it does eliminate any space for thoughtful criticism.
Right.
For, hey, there are good things about this game. I didn't enjoy it for these reasons, because I feel like now it's if I tried to watch this show and I didn't care for it, it would be a weird but I'm not saying that we should kill this actress for doing a good job.
No, that's insanity. And if you do that, you're a piece of garbage, okay? You really are, and you really need to fill your time better.
Hard agree.
They're doing great with it. I think, everybody is well cast, in my opinion. Everyone's doing a great job. There are no standouts of anybody really weighing it down. I've got no problem. Was expecting way more Razzie Award worthy performances or something.
Which I also will say, just as an actor, and I think we all have some experience with I think everyone in this room can kind of vouch for this too. Often if you don't like a performance, a lot of that is also going to, there's so little that is in the actor's hand at the end of it. Editing, directing, I'm not saying there aren't bad performances that exist because actors are bad. But if you don't like a choice an actor is making, please also be mindful of...
That might have been coached.
Yeah, how many eyes are on this, how much they're crafting this performance in the editing room after.
Do you understand the difference between a performance, a directorial, and an editorial difference?
And you can not like it.
Expectations. Yeah.
You can not like it, but to immediately be this actor sucks and I hate them is
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, it puts actors in a bad position too.
Yeah.
I was so lucky to do touring theater in Houston. I was
Yeah.
part of Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, and I played a horrible, bigoted human being. I had to fight a gal. I had to say the N-word. I had to slap her around on stage, and I luckily had a very like good, trustworthy relationship with this person too. Of like, hey, we're always safe here. Hey, you always let me know if you're pushing me.
Yeah.
And the kids understood that.
Yeah.
Of, hey, I'm watching a show and I know that that lady is not that person.
Right.
I know she's not Lillian Jean.
We're creating make-believe.
But there's this weird thing that happens now when we're on the internet or seeing somebody on a screen in general where we just assume that that is them. And I don't know when that disassociation happened.
Yeah.
It's so odd to me.
I wonder if some of it just is we now exist so much on the internet, which is a space where we have learned to feel rewarded for what's the word? Just outrage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're constantly fed, not to get into this whole because this is a whole bigger, more complicated argument, and people smarter than me have, like, studied and written on this, but just that, like, oh, you keep scrolling when you're mad. That's, like, a more fulfilling little ding, 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 light up the receptors in your brain feeling than, like, I just feel pretty good about myself and the world around me. Like, no, this is what drives you. So now I feel like we just exist in such an outrage machine. It can't just be, I don't love this plot point in this show. I don't think this actor was the right pick for the role.
This seems like an odd character choice.
Right.
I don't love the way they, someone chose to portray this character, be that the actor or the director. No, it's like they deserve to be fucking killed. And it's like, that's just not a normal human response. But that's the fucking, everything's at an 11 now on the rage machine because that's what we're like trained to feel.
Yeah. I would argue, and maybe you two see shades of this doing this for as long as you have. I feel like video game fandom, it's much easier to find outrage in that than cinephiles or, television watchers. And I think that's because it's easier to feel a personal connection with video games because they provide such an experience.
1,000%.
And I think outrage is the easiest response from passion. It's so much easier to be outraged because you feel like you know better about this thing that you love and you love it so dearly.
Because you didn't just watch it.
Yeah.
From
you experienced
you
it.
were a part of it in some
Again,
way.
yeah.
That makes
So-
a ton of sense.
that
So
shared
in a
agency.
way, I think there is some sympathy there where, I get it. I am on the threads and the forums, and some people do make good points, but with good counterpoints, such as, I'm not really digging this show because the thing that I loved about the games were the cordyceps encounters. Those were so freaky. I loved how adrenaline-filled they were. But then somebody else bringing up, like, well, if that was 90% of the show, they wouldn't be as scary if they're just mowing through rooms of these things. You get no tension from a cinematic sense. And so I think there is even a misunderstanding of just how fundamentally those cogs kind of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, food for thought.
That all makes sense.
I guess all that to say, in the world of our trademark hot takes, if you didn't like this show, that's okay.
Yeah.
If you send death threats to a real person because you didn't like this show,
That's not okay.
that's a bad. Thank you.
Yeah.
That gets a patented
A
Eric
thumb
Dains
way down.
Thumb down.
Mm-hmm.
Hot take.
We don't like it.
It's hard to get one of those.
You threaten people? Rude.
We don't love that.
That was rude. That was pretty fucking rude.
No, and it's crazy too because I really was kind of expecting a bit more of
Anything?
anything, really. Because there's definitely, there's been some stuff in what I would call like more active hot fandoms where I've checked in occasionally as a more casual fan and gone like, no, there's some validity to this. No. The hover bike Boba Fett section was
Vespa
a little,
gang?
The Vespa gang was a little laughable. Like I
Yeah.
can agree with that, but I don't want anyone to fucking die or lose their
No.
job over it.
I love that they had their Zords, but I don't think those people should like
Yeah.
be burned.
No, and I think too what I like so much about what they're doing with the television series and like kind of how you said you get to airbrush some stuff when you take it through another medium, you get to give it another pass. I think more than a horror, more than a downer of a show, there is a lot of optimism. There's a lot of human stories here. I think that's what's interesting, and I think that's why it's so reflective of people being as vocal as they are, because the themes of life and continuing and community really reflects your worldview, because it is an alternative world, a post-apocalyptic world, but these people very much function the way that we do. Still, there is still need for human connection, for community, for togetherness.
Sure.
Hell yeah. I've got 2 questions that piggyback off of that really well.
Yar.
So from the Joelster, we've got, what are the best changes from the game to the show for you? And then from It's What It Is, great username.
Which actor should we all send our death threats to?
Oh, weird.
No, they didn't say that. You didn't say that.
Is there anything?
Can we just do
you
one
did that so beautifully, though.
Can we just do it
so
collectively
well
so we
done.
don't send 3 of them?
Is there anything you wanted them to put in the season from the game that they didn't? So what changes did you like, and what did you wish actually showed up in there?
Gotcha. Okay. I really enjoy, so some things are not going to translate well from gameplay to camera. One of those is resource management. The game is so incredibly immersed in, you have these materials, you can use them to craft, you only have so much ammo, you gotta conserve it. Just kind of getting rid of that as a function. You know, there's not a lot of craftiness. There's little nods, like you see like a workbench that somebody's using to like clean a gun. You're like, all right, yeah, that's I see the nod there. But not necessarily doing the like, I can craft a nail bomb out of a coffee can, some nails and tape. Like, fun for a game. I can suspend my belief, no problem. But I'm really happy they just went with, it's still impactful, but nobody's God. Nobody can just mow down. The thing I wish they kind of did differently, the first time we met our first bloater, it's very effective. It's at the end of an episode. It's wrapping up an arc that's just brilliant in season 1. But its introduction just lacked the same amount of oomph and punch as the games, because in that one, you 3 alone in a gymnasium, or you 2, Bloater and you and Ellie in a gymnasium alone. And that thing is charging at you in close quarters. And this is filmed way more in an epic mid style, so you're kind of seeing everything. And you see him on the field doing like all this stuff, but it kind of takes out that lumbering mass that's coming at you. Yeah. Bloater introduction could have been a wee bit scarier for me.
Fair. Very fair.
I feel like we got a bunch of really great questions. And there's so much to get in here too. Do you mind if we just speed like
Yeah.
a shambling little zombie?
Yeah. Let's go runner speed. We're not going clicker speed. We're going runner speed.
Ooh.
Okay.
Right.
I feel like this is a bad speed round. Go. K Mark was 9 said, if the part 2 of the video game had been released in 2019 and not peak pandemic 2020, do you think its reception would have been different?
Yes, because those games in that period were defined by togetherness and connectedness and creation, and this game is totally defined by hyper-violence, regret, and trauma. So I think it just kind of buried
Not
itself.
relatable at all.
Exactly. So a little rough during that time period. It would have had a better go pre.
All right. Joseph DeFilippis 07 said, how far into development did Raimi's movie adaptation get?
Yeah, so this one, actually, I needed to look up a little bit because I remembered it. I remembered this getting dropped as a movie first, and then it totally going off my radar. Yeah, Sony Pictures totally dropped in 2014 that they were going to do The Last of Us, the movie. They did marketing during Comic-Con. And, pre-production talks are such a weird nothing burger to talk about because a lot of them's rumors, a lot of them's hearsay. A lot of stuff just gets chopped. But apparently, they had Maisie Williams rumored to play Ellie, which is kind of funny because we still ended up getting 2 Game of Thrones alums. They had, Sam Raimi attached, but Druckmann, who is the creator of this, was finding it impossible to mash this story into a 2-hour storytelling device. And this was actually right around the time where he met the other show's creator, Marzin, and Mazin, thank you. And they started hitting it off and realized that this would just translate so much better to a show. And I'm really happy they did. Episodic just works so much better in this medium than a 2-hour chunk fest.
Well, Mason did Chernobyl.
Yes.
Which is weirdly this like great connective thread here too.
I see that.
It was okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, don't eat pizza while watching that one.
You got some?
Yeah. So from Garrett Doherty, thoughts on TV Ellie versus Game Ellie? How do you feel? Are there big differences or pretty similar?
Yeah, they're pretty similar. It's weird because you're talking about a 2-game kind of character where you see a lot of transition, a lot of growth and everything. She goes from being 13 to 19. She kind of gets locked into a definition of her anger and vengeance defining her, unfortunately. And while this game and this whole franchise has many well-written female characters, it can feel a little undimensional in that way. In which case, Bella Ramsey, I think, is performing the hell out of it. But I wish this was something that got airbrushed a little bit more. And they definitely gave Ellie some more stuff to do with, some romance and a lot of this. But, I think the performance is great. I think the execution is great. I think the one-to-one is great. I think Ellie as a character, by definition, is just a little flat.
Totally fair. From Alec Lono. Will this win an Emmy?
Most definitely. I mean, the first season won an Emmy for Offerman's episode, I believe. So,
and he won an Emmy for it.
Yeah, he won an Emmy for performance.
And they're introducing that new Daddiest Daddy category.
That is true. The new Daddy
But
Caddy
it's him
is going
and
to...
David Harbour.
Unless they can hustle Stranger Things season 5 out, I feel good. I feel good about their odds.
It probably will, but probably for nothing expected, because to win an Emmy in like a following second season, I think it's always been something that's been talked about, followed up on extensively, like The Bear. Season 2 has that one episode that everyone's talking about. And I don't think they did anything quite at that same level for season 2. But hey, they might do costuming, makeup, effects, whatever. So I'd put money on it, yeah.
Sure. Following up on that, Kay Marquis went on to ask, too, why is Pedro being pushed into the lead actor category for season 2?
You know what? That's a great question, because it definitely doesn't feel like... Well, let's define it, He's not the protagonist, but with all of the lifting scenically and all the screen time he does get throughout this season, even though it's not Current Joel who's alive, he gets a lot of screen time. So I think I don't know what they break it down by technically, but I gotta imagine it's by screen time or sorts of, how much you're carrying that script. And he's very, very much present in the second season.
Well, and I have a lot of respect if they are doing that, because I feel like it has become a bit of an issue of characters that get lead actor screen time going, we'll push them for supporting because they have a great shot.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I'd rather err on the side
I would still call it a 3-way lead for the second season.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
The Meerkat was asking, did you play? You did play the game, but saying if you didn't, did the last kill shock you as it did me? I had issues putting my jaw back. So was the kill as shocking playing the game?
We're talking about
the last kill,
the first game, or the second game.
I assume the last kill in the most recent season, if that exists.
Ooh, that could be a multitude of things.
Yeah, there's so many. If we're talking about Jesse, who for second season, it's incredibly well done, fast, confusing, chaotic. The show is so grounded in that way, where it doesn't glorify the violence. It's just quick and happens where you even go, wait, what happened? So yeah, hella shocked, even though I was ready for it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, this second season, hey, don't be pregnant. That was my big takeaway.
Yeah.
Don't be a person who's pregnant.
They get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, they really do.
Pregnant and post-apocalyptic feels like a bad time.
Not a good time.
Or any time.
No.
Just based on all the people I know who've gone through that.
Yeah. Not great. Gabe Big Dog and Glorahaho? I'm so sorry if I butchered that username. Both of them want to know what you're excited about and hoping for in season 3.
Oh my God. Okay. I was hoping we'd get to touch on this a little bit.
Yay.
Spoilers and all that and stuff. I'm so excited to get to meet the Rat King. It is this cordyceps thing that has been milling about in a basement of a hospital since the initial outbreak. So it's had time just to stew, and it's a bundle of cordyceps bodies that act as one kind of entity. And it is a frightening fight. And I feel like with as much care and love they've put into the design for the show, it's gonna be fucking terrifying.
He's called the Rat King.
Have you ever heard of a rat's nest? I think that's what it's called. Sometimes it'll happen with rats where all their tails will get tangled and they'll become a mass of rats that just kind of act as a single kind of.
Okay,
really
reworked
freaky
rankings.
thing.
We were reworked rankings.
Rat King is at the
Kings.
bottom.
You would think based on the name S tier, but no.
No.
King of Suck. Actually, no, because then they would rank higher. I'm excited to meet the Rat King. And I'm actually kind of conjoined with that. I'm sorry to tack on more to the answer. I'm excited to see Abby's perspective because it was so jarring as a first-time gameplay experience. I'm wondering if seeing it as an audience member and just taking it in visually is going to have any kind of different affectation.
Oh, that's perfect because Prison World wanted to know how you were going to spend a whole season with Abby potentially. So.
Yeah. I think the same way as I played it, and that's, I'm going to keep an open mind. This is making me feel very weird. Why is it making me feel weird? Explore that.
Yeah.
Have fun being uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable. Be bored.
I like that a lot. And then this is just, Yoso Peaches gave us a hot take of just, this is not a question per se, just a comment. Game was better. That's my hot take. Do you think the game is better or the show is better? Where do you kind of lie?
I'm going to agree with it. I'm going to go game is better.
Ooh,
Which-
for why? And which, yeah.
I was going to say, which version of Joel would you rather kiss? Game or TV?
Oh, TV.
Gosh.
Okay.
Yeah. Easy.
Thank you for playing.
Thank you for putting that thought in my head. It's very pleasant. Yeah, I like the game more. I think being really plugged into this world and the way that you immersively explore, I still think it's just such an exciting, fun, and rewarding way to explore this type of relationship that's being built. The show is so good at I think it's, I don't know what to call it because I don't want to call it spoon feeding. Like, I think it's just the medium of, it's a bit more passive. And I think what they've built here in the franchise is just predominantly most effective when you're in control and you're making decisions and things are happening to you in a reactive way where it makes you sit with it a little bit.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like when that is what you wrote this story around, ultimately, props to them for making it work so well in a completely different medium.
Yeah.
That is a challenge.
That's
Yeah.
hard.
One last quick question from me. Do you have anything else you recommend if people are really digging Last of Us? Be that video games, be that other zombie apocalypse kind of media you dig?
Hot dads.
Hot dads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you write those ones down
Can
for
you?
know
me?
what?
We need to know for science.
Some fun ones. I have a friend who directed and a couple other friends who acted in a movie with a very young Pedro Pascal. It is called Bloodsucking Bastards. It is a very fun workplace comedy, kind of satire. Very fun. It's fun to see Pascal being the name they got, but before he was this household name.
Yeah.
So if you want to see a young Pascal, that's very, very fun. I'd also go ahead and recommend the movie he did with Nick Cage, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yes.
Yeah, such a fun title, and that one was such a fun romp. So definitely for Pedro Pascal. Video games, play both of The Last of Us. They're amazing. If you like them for the gameplay or the story, Red Dead Redemption is a sweeping epic.
It feels very similar to the conversation we had with Keegan. on
Yeah.
Red Dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweeping, cinematic, beautiful. It's The Last of Us and Red Dead Redemption are my two main pieces for arguing why video games are art. And they are, like, you shouldn't have to argue it. But if you want to, like, get an experience that you think you should be getting, quote unquote, from art in a video game medium, it's going to be those two, hands down.
Nice.
And also, check out Naughty Dog's older stuff like Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter, because it's kind of insane that they went from 3D, very bright, colorful platforming to the storytelling juggernaut studios that they are today. It's some incredible, incredible studio management. They have a very fascinating history if you kind of like to see where independent studios come from and how they get really big and really maintain what makes them that good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, Eric, real quick.
Yeah.
Do you think Ellie got?
They're all fucking dead.
Shit. Well, something to look forward to next season, folks.
I think we are going to have a hell of a time getting to that question
Sweet.
for the next season. And I'm very excited to see how people react to it. Because it has been fun seeing a new swath of people come in and get to experience this and even have their opinions. And so many more like parents and stuff whose views I did not get as much of back in 2016 when I played this. So I'm excited for it all, man.
Fantastic.
Heck yeah.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This
I know
was
you're
fun.
legally obligated to do this as my husband.
Mm-hmm.
I did work that into the vows.
I should have read the vows first. Saying your vows should not be the first time you're reading your vows.
Especially,
Yeah.
mine had so many legal loopholes.
A lot of
It did.
caveats there.
A lot of big words. Thankfully,
Yeah.
I played a lot of Scramble.
Oh, we'll work on it. Besides your excellent 3-parter on the Spider-Man, OG Spider-Man trilogy,
Yeah.
on this very podcast, where else can the people find you, Eric?
Yeah. You can find me doing improv with Big Yellow Taxi. We are currently on tour this year. We'll be at the Rise Improv Comedy Festival as well as the Orange County Improv Festival. If you want to look those up, both those festivals are doing incredible work with charity work, getting underprivileged kids to artistic camps and stuff like that. It's amazing. Check them out. You can also check them out playing the 28th of June next month at the Outside Inn at 8 o'clock. Bam.
What
We
a
did it.
plug. Well
What a plug.
done.
And
And you can find me at home.
Nope.
And online?
Oh, you can find me at Viva La Dains on Instagram.
Dains.
Yeah.
No one ever gets it right.
I didn't for years.
You know
He
what?
was in my phone wrong for so long.
My name's misspelled in your phone. I just saw on your laptop screen.
Oh, is it still?
Yep.
Oh no.
Also,
I'm barely literate, you guys.
On
Oh yeah,
Twitch.
you're still a you. That's wrong.
on Twitch every week.
Oh yeah, you can find me doing D&D at our live stream for Dungeons and Dragons called Legacy of Fools. Currently doing a Legacy campaign with Tyranny of Dragons. It's a fun time.
I play too.
Yep.
We'll drop all those in the show notes for you. As for us, you can catch us if you are listening to this and you want to see faces. We're over on YouTube at Two Filthy Casuals Pod. If you're watching and you need an audio version for your commute or your chores or whatever, grab that wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like more episodes, you can become one of our filthiest casuals over on Patreon for just $5 a month. Get all kinds of fun bonus content, at least 2 bonus episodes a month. And we've started throwing on some reactions and some fun stuff there. Thank you to our newest filthiest casual, Colby Parker, for joining the party over there. Come see us with that. Yeah. And you can find us on all the social media, by which I mean Instagram and TikTok, because I don't know who's using other ones still. Not me. Don't have time. Don't have the emotional energy.
Yeah.
But we're on Instagram and TikTok at Two Filthy Casuals Pod.
I can only be bullied in so many places.
You know,
So
past the point, it's just masochism.
yeah.
Like releasing this episode. And until next time, thank you again, Eric.
Yeah.
As I say to every guest, I love you.
She does say it to everyone.
And I'll see you at home tonight.
To every single one.
Most of them are like very confused. Until next time, I'm Amy Newman.
I'm Chris
And
Carr.
remember, if you followed this phantom, you'd be home by now. Be fucking normal in the comments, guys. Just be fucking normal for once in your
They
lives.
won't be. They're gonna be so angry. I hate Abby. Bella Ramsey. Brr.